Hello everyone, it's Wes here, back with another video. In this video, I want to answer this question. What is more important between education and experience when you are drafting your CV? Now, or let me put it this way. Maybe you've been trying to apply for a job and you've been asking yourself, should I highlight my education more than I highlight my experience? Or maybe I should highlight my experience more than I highlight my education. Now, let me answer this question to say all of these are important, but for the most part, I would say it depends on what you are applying for. So if you have watched most of the videos on this channel, I always say, if possible, always modify your CV to match each job that you're applying for. You shouldn't just have one CV that you apply for all the jobs on the market. No, always modify your CV. Now, how can you know that I should highlight my education on this job application, or I should highlight my experience on this job application? I'll be able to share a few insights. So the first thing that you have to do, and you should get me here, if you want to apply for a job, I always advise that you should read the whole job vacancy word for word, through and through. You shouldn't skip it, just feel like, oh, you know what, I'm looking for a job, let me quickly apply. Because what normally happens is sometimes you may be able to miss what they are looking for, right? For example, you say a job, they're looking for a procurement officer, right? You haven't read whatever they're looking for. You have a CV, you're a procurement officer, you just quickly take the CV that you have and then you apply without reading whatever they're looking for. So I always advise to say, if possible, read through and through of the job vacancy. I know some of them are long, they have a lot of things, but just make sure that you should read through. Likely you can spend like 10 minutes or 15 minutes reading through, right, before you apply. So what I'll say is, when you see a job vacancy, these are the key things that you should look for. If the vacancy hasn't put any education, but they have said, oh, we're looking for someone who has such experiences, I will say this: highlight your experience more on your CV more than you highlight your education. What I mean by highlighting is, you see, a CV needs to be short, and for the most part, you need the most important information on the first page. So what you have to do is make sure that your experience is on the first page, right? Because they're looking for someone who has experience more than they're looking for someone who has that type of education. Now, let me put it this way. There are other jobs, they just want you to have a certain qualification because you can practice, or you can't do them without having such a qualification. For example, doctors, lawyers, and any other fields like those ones, right? For those ones, they may want to see your qualifications. Sometimes even where you did your education matters more. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it even matters, right? So in jobs that they have said, oh, we're looking for someone, let's say, with such experience, as well as the education one, we're looking for someone who has such a paper, make sure that you should highlight your education on the first page. It should be visible. People should see, like, not people, the recruiters should be able to see it right on the first page. Now, there are other jobs that they say, we're looking for someone who has, let's say, 5 years experience, and they also put in the education. For these jobs, I'd say it's just like free. You can be able to do whatever you want. You can be able to highlight your education more than you highlight your experience, or you can highlight your experience more than you highlight your education. But now there's this one tip that I should say: if you have more than 5 years of work experience, let me put it this way: if you have more than 5 years of work experience, for the most part, you will be hired based on your experience, your recent experience. Now, your education matters. I'm not saying your education doesn't matter, but what normally happens is, the more you gain experience, the more you become attractive to the jobs that you are applying for in that specific field, because you have the experience, right? So if you're applying for a job, make sure you look into whatever I've just said, and make sure you highlight these things on your CV. Sometimes your education needs to come first before your experience, and sometimes the experience needs to come first before your education. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.